money like cashier. Get the money like a cashier. Customer, clientele. I was broke, that was last year. Getting money like cashier. Get the money like a cashier. Benjamin, nothing less. I was broke, that was last year. Don't change 'em. I never switched up. Been down since day one. Stay social. People change them.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Dope Black Thoughts Live. My name is Kevin Cox, and we have an excellent episode today. So we are going to be speaking with BJ Joyce, the founder and CEO of BizColorado.com. We're talking about how we're going to keep the black dollar rotating in the black community. And I have tons of questions I want to ask, but honestly, I just want to get myself educated. So I want to bring BJ in, and I want to tell you, sir, first of all, thank you for doing what you do, but also thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, definitely. No, I really appreciate you having me on the show today. Really excited about the topic that we're going to get into, and yeah, man, I'm just out here trying to make it happen in the black community for us positively, just like you are. So let's get into it for sure.
I mean, so look, let's be selfish first. I mean, because personally, we've been doing this for 2 years, and it's been hard. It's hard for smaller companies, trying to fundraise, trying to get themselves known, trying to market, trying to brand, and trying to build and form a network. So, I mean, what's like maybe 2 or 3 little tips you could offer to people, say the size of DBT, having 2 or 3 partners and like not very many investors,
Yep.
just trying to basically crowdfund and whatnot. What's some tips you could give someone like us?
So first and foremost, I mean, what's tough in the black community, like as far as business building, right, is that we just don't have the financial leverage as other groups. And a lot of that stems from history, obviously, and current policies and things against us as well. But a lot of that also just stems from the lack of cohesion within the black community, right? Is that you can go to some of the other ethnic groups. I'll give you an example. Asians, for example, right? In their community, what you'll see a lot of times is they'll come over as immigrants, and then they'll have like 10 families work, right? Just normal jobs. And then they'll take $10,000 each, right? And put it into a pot. Now you got $100,000, okay? And then what they'll do is they'll say, all right, well, one of you is going to take this whole $100,000. You're going to go start, let's say, a restaurant. And so they go and start a restaurant with that $100,000 that was built by their family, these 10 families, right? Then they'll hire their family members to work there. So they'll keep their employees, staff, keep money in the family, right? And then what they'll do is they'll contribute that $100,000 back to the pot at, over time. Then once that $100,000 is back in the pot, another family member, they'll go and get like a beauty hair store, right? And then they'll repeat that same process until all 10 families have a business set up. And so they have a cohesion there, and they have an understanding that we're going to build something together, and we're going to use the funds that we worked, right? We worked jobs to get, but then to get out of that, there's a plan where we come together, build businesses. So everybody now has a business, and we work together to do that. So that's number one, right? If we can get cohesion within the black community to do that, we can leverage our collective resources to build. Number 2 is, I mean, you got to go find some funding somewhere from like white community. I'll just say it, right? Right? You got to go to the white community.
Bring that wealth in, but yeah, it has to have an entry point.
Exactly. So, I take the philosophy from Dr. Claude Anderson of buy black, sell to everyone, right? So like you want to keep the money within the black community by buying black, but then you're going to sell to everyone, whether that's your product, your service, your idea, right? So if you have this idea, this business, you have to sell that to other people, to other groups, and get them bought into what it is that you're doing, and get some of that resource money into your business. A lot of times it's tough. So you have to negotiate that with controlling interest, because when people give you money, they want to control what's going to happen with that money, right?
Yes,
especially with Black businesses. So with Black businesses, you want to go and acquire that money, but you also want to be careful about giving up controlling interest in your business. So now it's no longer Black controlled. You have ownership in it, but somebody else is pulling the strings, right? So, but all that to say, that's number two. Go and find that white money, because they're the ones that usually have the majority of it, and are willing to bless you with it. True statement. I mean, there's a lot of organizations, a lot of businesses, a lot of people in the white community that want to support Black businesses, right? And then I would say, like, just as a final one, 3, there's you're going to have to raise it somehow. You can't count on grants, because usually grants are only going to be for like nonprofit organizations. If you have a nonprofit, great, go for grants. But you're going to have to raise that money somehow. So whether it's, working for it, and you have your own personal funds, going out there and doing like a drive, I don't want to say like a GoFundMe, but like a Kickstarter, or something like that, to get the community bought into what you're doing, so that you can generate, community dollars. And because, again, my $1, my $5, my $100 multiplied over, 10, 20,000 people, that adds up, and that can really help.
Wow. Okay. So those are good tips. I mean, what I really liked was saying was how you said buy Black and sell to everyone else, and that's kind of an aspect that I haven't necessarily been able to wrap my head around as of late. And maybe we need to see more examples of that, and we'll have to kind of maybe do breakdowns of like some really successful Black businesses. Maybe talk about your path to how you got to where you are now, because I mean, you're the BJ Joyce,
the
right.
right. Well, I will get into that real quick, but I do want to touch on what you said is the concept of buy Black, sell to everyone, right? We actually in our newsletter that went out today for Black Biz Colorado, I actually unpacked the real estate market, right? So there's 2 ways to wealth in America: business ownership, real estate ownership. The easiest way to get into real estate ownership is basic home ownership, right? That's the easiest and most prevalent that people can get into that. But the Black community has fallen behind in that. Again, historically, policies, all that stuff. But the excuses are gone now. Like, we can get home ownership. And so within that article, we talked about all the different players involved in a real estate transaction, from the buyer and seller's agent, right? So you got 2 agents there, okay? They could both be Black. They could both work for Black-owned brokerages, right? So those can be Black. You have your inspection. So the inspector and inspection company could be Black. You have your appraisal. The appraiser can be Black, right? You have your mortgage lender. The mortgage lender can be Black. You have your title company. Title company can be Black. You have your insurance company can be Black. Well, and we kind of detour a little bit on that, because we per se don't know how many Black owned insurance companies are there, but there are the franchises like a State Farm, Farmers, Allstate, and et cetera, right? And those agents that are franchised under those umbrellas, but those could be Black, and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth. And so the way that a real estate transaction unpacks, right? For instance, right now, there's the average home price in Colorado is north of $550,000 right now. Okay. And yeah, it's getting up there. And so if you look at that, that's a big transaction in and of itself for buyer and seller. But now you have the loan person's going to make money. The inspector's going to make money. The title company's going to make money. The insurance company's going to make money. Like, all these different players. And right now within the Black community, what you'll see is that money goes to a white agent, because usually white agents are getting a piece of that pie. We're hiring white real estate agents, right? Or the insurance brokerage, we're going with somebody who's got an Allstate franchise who's white. We're going with a title company that's white, with a mortgage lender that's usually a bank more often than not, who's white, and so on and so forth. And so you're taking this large transaction, this wealth builder, right? And you're putting that in the hands of other ethnic groups. Now, if we keep it all black, that's money for all those people, not to mention all the support functions behind them that they could be utilizing that's black, from their marketing, their employees, their vendors, and so on and so forth. So when you buy black like that in just a real estate transaction, which again is huge, you have all these different levels of people that are making money, that are touching it, and are then filtering that within the black community. Now you do that one time, and then 2 times, and then 3 times, that whole level. And now these businesses, right, that are all throughout this transaction, they get to not only survive and stay in business because they're getting that business, but now they're getting more transactions in. Now they're able to scale, get bigger, improve their processes, improve their products that they're offering, be more competitive, get more business, not just within the black community, but maybe other communities as well. So now they're bringing in more money, they're hiring more, they're growing, they're circulating that within the black community, and then they're giving that back through investments and donations in the black community that is only going to contribute right back to their bottom line and our community as a whole. So just that piece of it, and if you multiply that over all the different businesses that we have, oh my gosh, buy black, sell to everyone becomes like this great thing for the black community, which every other ethnic group does except for us.
Right. So what it really comes down to is do what they're doing, right? They're doing it successfully.
Right. Do it successfully, because I say this a lot in a lot of the videos and commentary that I put out there for Black Biz Colorado, is that we as kids, right? And growing up, I'm watching Michael Jordan, and I'm trying to be like Mike, right? Like Mike. And it's like, as kids, you can benchmark the great ones, like in athletes, or you want to be a rapper or other kind of entertainment thing. Like, you benchmark those things. Well, we can also benchmark successful business people, wealthy people, and so on and so forth by just doing what they do. You look at, millionaires clip coupons. Millionaires,
Yes, they do.
They don't buy brand name stuff, right? Millionaires invest their money instead of spend their money, right? And so on and so forth. And it's just emulating that same behavior, that same mentality. And we can do that same thing, just like you said. Just do what they do.
So okay. And look, I want to bring in well, looks like we lost Omar. I want to bring in Omar Montgomery from NAACP when I get him. But I'm gonna get him back on, and he'll join in, because this is really interesting. And I mean, one thing I know that they pulled off in their Aurora branch of NAACP is they recently opened a economic development center.
Mm-hmm.
So they went and they brought in a bunch of funding, and they're using that effort to multiply it and spread funding out throughout the community as well. So I mean,
Right.
there's force multipliers also, and I mean, if you can talk about some force multipliers, about, well, talk about Black Biz Colorado. Let me get you to give me that.
Yeah, sure. So I mean, Black Biz Colorado is a website directory, blackbizcolorado.com, that is, for Black-owned businesses, right? So that we can be aggregated in one place, and that anybody and everybody can find us. So not just Black people. I didn't create this for the Black community to only find Black businesses. We created this so that, again, every community can find Black businesses, because here in Colorado, we're 4.6% of the population. There's about 6 million people total in Colorado. We're, as Black folks, we comprise about 270,000 people. That's it. Okay. And we're so dispersed, especially because of all the gentrification efforts that have happened here in Colorado, especially the Denver metro area, that we don't have traditional neighborhoods anymore. We don't have places like, all right, hey, that's where the Black community is. This is where their businesses are. This is where they build. It's gone. And especially with the real estate market the way that it is, commercial space is so hard to come by. So it doesn't matter where you're at, whether you're in this community, whether you're in that community, it's just so hard to come by. So now, through the advent of technology, we can build our quote unquote Black Wall Street online. And that's what we've done with BlackBizColorado.com. So with nearly 800 businesses listed and growing every single day, BlackBizColorado.com is the website directory for Black-owned businesses in the state of Colorado. And that's where you can find and buy from everything. And go back to our real estate transaction. There's a Black-owned title company. There's Black-owned inspectors. There's Black-owned mortgage brokers, Black-owned insurance companies, Black real estate agents and brokerages. We're still waiting on a Black appraiser. We know there's some out there. We just don't like it's been hard to find them and piece them and get them aggregated. But basically, we're just aggregating our Black Wall Street online. And so the more that we are able to be found by not only the Black community for support, but the entire community of Colorado, especially visitors coming too, that way we can grab that money, we can pull it and put it into our community and then continue to build and grow.
Okay, I mean, that's what I'm talking about. These are the steps that we need to be, really just kind of taking to heart and kind of just need to be that are in the back of our head. We shouldn't have to be told this over and over again, but there's been a few mechanisms that have been dismantled to keep us from having these habits that everyone else is just so used to doing, and they don't even really think about it. And to talk further about the, some of the disparities that we're trying to overcome. Let's bring Omar in. Omar, how are you doing, sir? Local president of the NAACP, man about town.
Hey, Omar.
Hey, my good brother. How you doing today?
I'm good. How you doing, brother?
Hey, brother. I just want to say thank you for all the work you're doing. I check it out. I know you and I have been trying to connect one-on-one, but I just want to say I've been peeping out the site and peeping out your social media. And just want to say thank you for the work you're doing and giving some exposure to Black businesses in Denver metro region.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. And I appreciate the things that you're doing over there at NAACP Aurora, the incubator that you got going on there for businesses, the grant program that you're collaborating with out there. So I really appreciate what you're doing as well. And we definitely have to do some more collaboration for sure.
Agree. And by the way, we're doing the third round of that grant. And I don't know, did you get that information and able to send it out to your people yet?
I have not received that information directly, no. So if you have it, I would love to, push that out.
Yeah, that grant is up for those who do not know. A while back, do you mind if I go into this, Kevin? Y'all was in the middle of a discussion, and I'm just coming in. And
this is what we needed to hear.
Yeah.
So a while back during COVID, brother Tyler, Reverend Tyler's son, I forget his name off the top of my head, but that brother does amazing work. He's just bad. But him and his mom and a few other folks have this nonprofit called Kaleidoscope, and they were collaborating with the Village Exchange Center. And that's how the initial brainchild of the grant got started. I'm chair of the Village Exchange Center, chair of the board. So then the NAACP got involved. And that grant is for BIPOD businesses, and it's up to $5,000. That's not a loan, that's a grant. And you get IT assistance with that grant, where you get a chance to work with a mentor or another business professional, as you said, BJ, on how you scale your business, how you scale it from where you're at now to, and then you may even come to the reality, is this the business for me? Is this business for the Denver metro region? Do you need to look in other states? You can still sell in other states, sell in other countries, and not even have to leave your living room or dining room. So we help people figure out where is their best market. But more important is that loans and bank loans been a little hard for us to get. But through this partnership, and we just got word, I can't talk about it yet, we may be getting some more funds where we'll be able to do around 4, 5, and 6 if things go according to plan. But right now, round 3 is active, and the applications are due May 9th. And if you go to the Village Exchange website, Village Exchange Center website, and go to BIPOD Grant, it's a very easy application. And the requirements are super easy as long as your business is in good standing with the state of Colorado, or we hadn't funded you prior to this.
Wow, excellent. See, that's exactly what we needed, Omar. We don't want you to wait on that. Honestly, we
get
need
that money.
we need a red alert when you talk about this sort of stuff. I mean, because we're struggling out here, especially post COVID, and a lot of funding was flowing due to COVID pandemic funding, and kind of people are like, oh, it's over now, but a lot of people are still, especially in our community, are still experiencing residual effects. So really appreciate what you guys are working on and accomplishing at NAACP. But BJ, you were gonna really, I wanted to get back to you. So look, grant funding, you touched on that quite a bit.
We got a grant.
So you got one now. Can you talk about some struggles that you've overcome to get to where you are?
Whew. Man. Struggle is real. I'll just say that. I mean, one of the big struggles, I'll say overall with the Black business community is communication, right? It's communication. It's getting information to the people that need to hear it most. I'm sure Omar knows about 100% about that, right?
Yep.
And it's getting communication to the people that need it most, right? So that's been a big hurdle with what we're doing in particular, because even though we have a massive Facebook following, social media following, right? We're talking, north of 50,000 people. And then spreading that out amongst the people. There's still so many people that don't know, don't hear. And especially with the way that the community as a whole, not just the Black community, but I would say just overall society now communicates is so different than it was, 20, 30, 40 years ago. Whereas you have to find little pockets of where people are in order to get them information. And so communication has been very difficult, I would say, for us and for just the Black community at large in getting them the information. One of the things that I would suggest in that we look towards, right, as a Black community, and I'll just speak for Denver per se, is that we have platforms like the Denver Urban Spectrum. It's the only Black magazine publication, to my knowledge, unless you know something else out there, Omar.
There's some others, yeah.
Yeah, are there a few others? Okay. Yeah. So to my knowledge, I mean, I've known the Denver Urban Spectrum for years and years and years and years. So it's the one that's on my mind. But it's we need to plug into these things as a community, right? We need to plug into the Denver Urban Spectrum. I know there's what is it? There's the My Black City magazines that are out there. We need to plug into those, right? We actually need to get involved with these communications. I mean, Brother Jess out there all the time doing his thing, right? And so on and so forth. So it's going and it's one thing to have these communication vehicles. It's also another thing to plug into them as well, right? So I would encourage the Black community to plug into these vehicles so that not only are we getting the communication as a whole, but we're also supporting our own, right? We're supporting our communication vehicles. And I'll touch on this real quick because it's a big point. When you go to war, when anybody goes to war, the first thing that they do when they get into the battlefield is they establish communication. They establish communication with their team, they established communication with headquarters. So communication is huge. If we're going to be out here battling from an ethnic standpoint for resources on an economic level, as a status level, as a social level, in terms of where we're placed in society, then we have to have the communication. And so first and foremost, we got to plug into Dope Black Thoughts. We got to plug in with the NAACP and what they're doing with their newsletters. We got to plug into Denver Urban Spectrum. Brother Jeff, we have to have this communication resource. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to organize. We're not going to be able to come together. We're not going to be able to do the things that we need to do collectively, and we're still going to be individuals. And that classic saying, right? Divided we fall, but united we stand.
That's a very very good point. That it's really making me think about, just even DBT as a whole, because it's a team of us. There's a lot of us. There's diversity amongst us. We just finished out Women's History Month, and I gotta say, by far that was one of our most successful months. And now we're coming into Black Wealth and Wellness Month. And I do see a drop in viewership and engagement and whatnot. So it's like when you like you said earlier, find those pockets, find those niche groups that we can energize and get involved. And this is also why it's important to support Black no matter what, because sometimes those businesses, it may just be the wintertime, this Black owned business doesn't do as well. Well, guess what? They're putting into the Black community throughout. They can lean on us whenever business is slow, because they provide a different service that we can, just engage with, that we weren't just doing off the muscle like so many others. It's just it's not fully fleshed out as to how I can really make that apply for us. But I'm trying to look in the mirror and think about how we can dip and dive and become as big as Black Biz Colorado, and also as big as what Omar is doing with NAACP, what he's going to accomplish. Because I remember a while back y'all were in a different space, Omar. we
were, and actually we're not even in the new space no more. But with this new grant, we're going to be getting another space. A space wasn't even in our. When I first became president, a space just wasn't a thought. It was COVID and partnering with other organizations that made it possible. Visit Aurora was moving out that space and paid the lease for almost 7 months for us to be there for free. Paid the lease, paid the internet, and gave us all the furniture for free. So we were able to be in there for 6 months free, give out grants, do technical assistance. And people opened their business in that spot. They had business launches, all that stuff. So probably within the next few months, we're going to be looking at a new location, a place that's a little bit more permanent. That one was a temporary spot. But I will say this, though. There's a lot of great things going on in the state of Colorado when it comes to Black businesses. I also want us to celebrate some of our successes. You got Maxine Pryor, who's doing some great work with the airport and trying to open up the airport with the brother. I forget the brother name. That's the CEO of the airport. But trying to get, exactly what I'm talking about, trying to get more Black vendors in the airport. And she's doing town halls within the Denver metro region so that Black businesses can have FaceTime with the decision makers. You have Benzel, my good brother Benzel, that's doing great work and doing conferences. I think we just had the big conference this weekend. I was up in the mountains at a retreat, but Joyce had her conference this weekend. Yes. So I think there's some, and then you just have Black businesses that's yielding success. And I think people want to hear about success. So probably on some of these platforms, let's get those formulas of success so that other businesses, Black businesses, can model that success and figure out how to have a sustainable, profitable, not just have a business, but make it sustainable and profitable. Because when it's profitable, those people give back to the community.
Yeah, one of the things I talk about, like in that regard, Omar, a lot is like we need it to survive and we need it to thrive. right?
Yes, sir.
So we need you to we need you to be here, but then we need you to go even further, right?
Mhm.
And yeah, that's exactly what you're talking about. Like, how do we replicate this? And that's why I say a big part of that, because there's a lot of Black businesses that think like, oh, I'm going to be in business and I'm just going to sell to Black people, and it's like, no, there's the whole. Do you think Amazon got started and was like, you know what, we're just going to sell to people who read books? You know, no, they were like, we're going to start selling to everybody. They started with books, and then they started moving into a whole nother direction, and they sell to everybody. So if you like, books is on the back burner for them at this point, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like there's a whole world out there for you to make money from.
Yes, sir.
Like what it is like, I try to convey the mindset of, you are a business first that happens to be owned by a Black person, right? You are first and foremost a business that happens to be owned by a Black person. Your market is everyone. Now there are some obvious, particulars, right? Like a Black barber is typically gonna have Black clientele. They're not cutting too many white folks' hair or other people's hairs, but they could, right? And so expanding and selling, not just here in Aurora, in Denver, in Colorado, around the world, and to any and everybody, so that you can thrive out here. But at the root, you are who you are. You are, your skin color. We are Black folks who run this business, who own this business.
You know what's funny about?
Go ahead.
I was about to say what's funny about that when you talk about who's selling to everyone. I don't know if people have been paying attention. Fox, a very conservative network, has something called Fox Soul, and if people haven't been peeping it out, it's Black. It's Black, and when I say it's Black, it's Black. So if they're able to figure out, once again, a network that has extremely conservative views about civil rights, about voting rights, and some aspects you may find that they have supported some things that goes against the interests of the Black community, depending on where you stand. Mm-hmm. They have Fox Soul, where it's a pretty much 24-hour news with all these different segments and things of this nature, a dynamic website. So they know the value of the Black dollar. They know they know the value of Black consumerism. And the question becomes, how do we begin to take control of our voices, which I've seen prime examples of that. I like the way Roland Martin rolls his stuff out. He owns his content, said the heck with TV. I could do just as well with, and you seeing more Black athletes, hip hop artists saying we want to own our content. But think about it. Fox said we're gonna start a Black chat. We're gonna start a Black news network. And then the Black news channel went off the air, and then Fox said, you know what, we just gonna go ahead and bankroll this and do it ourselves. So
right.
What that speaks to me is that secret sauce, and that's kind of what I've been trying to pick your brain for, BJ. I'm like, what's your secret sauce? And Omar, you've been involved in some business ventures also. But there's definitely going to be a secret sauce, and it may not necessarily be exactly what you think it is. Like we were talking about Amazon. Amazon started out with books, but right now their number one way that they make profits is through web services. Server space, cloud storage. Just this all the different background stuff that look. They call me the IT guy here at DBT. I'm like, I don't know anything about the real background stuff, the coding and the HTTPS stuff. I don't know anything about that. But that's where they make the bulk of their money, even though out of all the different products that they sell, they try to make a Amazon Basics knockoff of every single thing that's successful. Mm-hmm. So they follow your data, they see what you sell the most, they see what's profitable, what they can make for cheaper. They make that, and they're beating you on those prices. So they're stealing some of your profits just by the fact that you're being hosted on their website. Then they work to make the websites work behind closed doors in the first place. So there's some secret sauce that I'm trying to dig down, because this is for me too, BJ. This isn't just for the community. I'm part of the community too. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, just that secret sauce. And sometimes it is just being black, being in the right place, having that right energy. But sometimes you got to put in that hard work and overcome a lot of these obstacles that we experience more often than other communities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'll say this from what I've viewed, from what I've seen, just in the business world. Period. Right. It's the businesses again that are ambiguous, that they don't have a defined um, color like market, if you will. Like, for instance, a pharmacy. There's a black pharmacy out here in Green Valley Ranch. I love them. The owner's name is Alice. She's so nice. That's listed on the website, by the way. TPX Pharmacy, shout out. But she, it's a pharmacy. It's not a pharmacy for black people. It's a pharmacy for anybody who needs medication, who needs pharmacy services that go on there. Meds to blood work, I think, some testing, some whatever you could find in a Walgreens pharmacy or any of these other pharmacies. They have a pharmacy that can help you as well. It's just owned by black people. So I mean, everybody's going in there. Juan's going in there, Becky's going in there, and Jamal's going in there, right? So so it's like those businesses that are ambiguous to the marketplace, that just provide a product and a service that is good for the entire market, that just happens to be black owned, are the ones that I see that have the most momentum, that get the most traction, that thrive more so than any other type of business, right? It's the ones when you see businesses out here that are catering to a specific color market, and I'll just say black businesses that say we want to serve black people. It's tough because going back to how we started off this conversation, we don't have the cohesion in the community, right? We don't have the support from the community to be completely black focused, black centered, and black supported financially. Like I said, we have all these organizations within I'll just say Denver metro area, just because it's the largest and most populous, right? We have all these organizations within the Denver metro area, and you don't see them getting supported by the black community like the black community supports all these other communities. Prime example, the Asians own the beauty supply market, okay? During COVID, this is a sad story because it's happened in Aurora as well, Omar, so you probably have heard this. There's a beauty supply store that during COVID, when we were locked down, they were the only ones that were out there, and they were doing deliveries, right? Because nobody could be open, so they were doing deliveries. This beauty supply store had black customers come to them and say, "You were my last resort." First and foremost, you're a black-owned beauty supply store, and black folks are saying, "You were my last resort, black business." And they're like, "Why weren't we your first?" Second of all, once COVID relaxed, like those restrictions, all those customers that came to them during COVID, they went right back to the Asians. That business is no longer in business anymore. They shut down.
That's sad to hear. At the same time, I do think there's been some successes even during COVID. I want to, even the people that do our social media, Jessica's Seek Media. When I think about where her business has grown since COVID, and the number of clients she's been able to keep up, black clients. I'm talking about the majority of them are black.
That's awesome.
And she's able, and she gives back to the community because she'll do free workshops on social media. So I just want to give out the shout to Seek Media. I want to think about Regina Edmondson, my better half, who's has her business, which is a catering business. And even though she just pivoted her business and did deliveries, said like, there's no big catering things. Let me pivot and do deliveries. And that clientele that was with her in COVID, the majority of them are still with her.
Nice.
So yes, I will say there were some things that took place, like that beauty shop that took place. But I'll also say that there were some Black businesses that were able to do well during COVID, and some of them changed their business model and said, okay, we got to figure out how to brand, how to market, how to get this done. I want to think about those who are starting the cannabis delivery business. Some of them are like, okay, people don't want to get out. These laws didn't change. They're also making it easier for people who were just as involved because of cannabis to be able to get into the cannabis business. So I just want to highlight some of those successes, because I think, yes, we do have some models of where things didn't go right, but we also champion and celebrate those businesses that are doing great.
And I think that speaks to the point you were making earlier, BJ. You need to be a successful business. And I think what that speaks to is the business model of that particular Black business that had that story. Maybe they weren't branding correctly. Maybe they weren't marketing successfully. Maybe they weren't, like sometimes every doctor teach you the same, but who's got the better bedside manner? You're going to be more likely to come back to that office. It could have been it's something as simple as customer service to make people like, dude, in a pandemic, maybe I'll come see you. So maybe it might not, but obviously using services such as Biz Colorado and marketing yourself, and hey, getting a sponsorship, sponsoring a segment on something like DBT Live, that
Right.
can one, help build your brand, and two, help build up another Black business. So I mean, and that's another thing we're going to be pushing more, is offering ad space and broadening our market, because we're looking for radio segments, and we're going to be producing some just radio on our own, digital radio, just to put onto the different platforms, just to provide music, 2 or 3 hours a day over a 3-day weekend. So we're that's in the works as well. So
Local artists too.
Local artists. So that's I think, like what we've been saying, is make some pivots when you hit a low point. Can you talk to me, BJ? Give me some more. I don't want to just focus on struggles. Give me some of your highest level success stories at Black Biz Colorado, and also your own experience.
Yeah, man. Wait.
That's a good thing.
I'm because I don't want to put too many people's information out there, so I'm trying to see like how do I talk about it, like these successes.
Just use the pronouns. Just use the pronouns.
Yeah, because they're pretty good. For instance, when a particular cleaning company came to me and said, you know what, because of the exposure that we got from you, and this was last year, by the way, and they've since gotten more contracts. But last June, in 2021, they picked up their first $10,000 a month client.
Wow.
Okay, that's big money. I don't care who you are. 10,000 a month.
That's big money,
right? 10,000 a month.
It's big money.
And since then, they have picked up even more contracts similar in size, right? So hearing that, like, from these businesses, like, man, like, that is so cool. And then you from like real estate agents like Cleveland King of the Legacy Homebuyer Program, helping the Black community get into homes. I mean, he has this program that is literally you spend $1,000 and that covers your inspection and your appraisal, and you can get into a home that you qualify for, which is nuts. I mean, people should be lining up around the block to get into a home like for that. I mean, that's less than your rent right now. Okay.
Yes, but like, and coincidentally, he'll be on the show next week.
Oh, nice. Cool. There. Hey, yes, you'll see Cleveland next week, y'all. He'll probably talk about the entire program and help you guys get into a home. But it's like Cleveland advertises with us, and the amount of lives that he's been able to change, because when people get into a home, their mindset changes.
Yes, it does.
You're not thinking rent. You're like, oh, I own this. Wait a minute. I need to change the way I think. I need to change the way I do things from an economic perspective, from a protection perspective, right? Of man, this is mine. Like it's like your Jordans. Like, hey, don't touch my Jordans, right? Don't touch my house. Right. You take care of that lawn because it's yours and you don't want people messing it up, and so on and so forth. So just seeing the Black community through programs like Cleveland's, and then seeing some of these other businesses pick up, like I said, these contracts, these businesses, or this business that they're getting, all this money that's circulating within the Black community that I see like on a daily basis. It's been phenomenal. I wish it was more, right? Like that's the only thing that like I wish. I'm like, I see it, it's real. How do we like grow it and make it more? Going back to, again, the conversation we started off with, where I detailed out just the real estate transaction. If every single one of those pieces were Black, right? And then think about like if all of those people involved in that transaction, all their vendors were Black. And then you have all this money just circulating within the Black community like you do in these other ethnic communities. And then they're able to donate that to efforts like the NAACP and the things that they're doing, to, XYZ nonprofit that's helping kids, to these political campaigns to help get policies changed and made better for Black people, and so on and so forth and so on and so forth. It all comes back to that economic principles that if we can keep the money within our community and grow it, then we can buy the changes we want to see for our community.
And I want to say that's also intentional. And I'll just give a couple of examples. We had Gina and I was dealing with some property stuff, and we had a Black realtor, NARAB. I want to give a shout out to NARAB. Yeah. And that realtor connected us with a Black mortgage person. And we kept all that in the family. My last two cars, like I say, came from Gojo. So, I say that to say it's intentional. Could I have went and I'll just be honest, could I have went and possibly got better deals and better discounts in other places? Yeah. But at the same time, I know that those are people that's going to give back to the community. I know that those are the people who I see out there registering people to vote, where Gojo actually opened up her car lot so that we could have a voter registration campaign, or with NARAB, with Muriel, where we have done so many projects together. It's crazy in regards to social justice. Right. So I say that to say that you see these people on the front line, so you're willing to say, this may cost a little more. The price point may be a little different, but because I know it's going to go back to the community, I intentionally go and refer those individuals along with a few other realtors I refer and say, hey, it's going to be intentional. That's what we're going to do.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that part, the intentional piece, Omar, is huge, right? Because you'll see other ethnic groups, right? I'm going to speak for the Latino market, right? They will not use a Cleveland King. Every single one of those signs in their homes when they're selling them, Lopez, Martinez, Gonzalez, right? They do that. They're intentional about supporting the people that look like them and have that same shared value, right? They are very intentional about that, right? We need to do the same thing. Like we need to have, King and Johnson and, Babineau. Hey, shout out Babineau. Yeah. All out there, on our signs when we're selling real estate, and not just real estate, we're just using that as an example, but so on and so forth. Like Gojo, I mean, you tell me if there's another Black-owned car dealership besides Hot Rod and Gojo out there, Omar. But it's like, if we're gonna buy cars, go to Gojo. Don't go to Mike Naughton. Don't go down here to the Dodge dealership. Go to Gojo, right? and
you
be
know what though?
intentional about that.
Because it can sound like we're saying, hey, black people, be racist. That's not what it is. It's really that, like you said, that intentionality of saying, I want to help build up the black community. And I don't look at it as racism per se when we see a majority white area with majority white businesses being the only one supported. I look at it as racism when they have laws and structures in place to keep us from having our proportional piece of it. But we experience that as well. So when I see, nothing but Lopez's and Gutierrez and Fernandez, on a Latino business, I'm not necessarily mad about it. I'm just saying, what are the steps we can take to kind of have some of that going on so we can help build each other up too? Because we need these building blocks put in place for us and stepping stones as opposed to just, obstacles.
But Kevin, we support other businesses just through, who do you pay your cell phone bill to? True. Who do you pay your electrical appliances to? Some of them are state-owned, some of them are private. How do you get your cable? I don't believe black people own Netflix, but we watch Netflix. So I'm just saying that every day we pay these subscriptions, we give to other businesses. We go to Asian American businesses. I love shopping on the Colfax corridor. I go to a lot of the restaurants on the Havana corridor. I mean, so for me, yes, I give business to other people, but at the same time, for certain things, I'm intentional about how I give that business to the community. And that doesn't mean I've ostracized anyone. I go to Casa Verata right there on Quincy and Parker all the time. They got plenty of my money. And I love those people over there. At the same time, I can also go to Gojo and say I'm intentional about it. I can go to Seek Media and say I'm intentional about it. I can go to Muriel, the realtor, and her husband, who was my mortgage broker. I can go to them, and I can go to my fraternity brothers when I need some business done and say, hey, I don't have to feel guilty because it's not like I'm isolating anyone. The first part of my check go to those businesses that's not even in my community. So, when you think about my mortgage, all that stuff. So I don't have to feel guilty about when I'm investing in my community, when when the money that comes off my check off the top is not even in my community.
Right. There
was only one black-owned gas station I saw in Aurora at Chambers and Mississippi. There was that Shell station right there by Discount Tire. Nice Ethiopian family. That's the only black-owned gas station that I was able to find that I saw.
Wow.
So
I had no clue.
And then you got, you got Endless Grind Coffee Shop. You got Mojo Coffee Shop. Like, I really think that, and by the way, I see brothers and sisters going in there, and I see other people going in there to hold meetings and this, that, and the other. And part of it is, we're in a global society. Mm-hmm. And yes, I'm going to sell and market my business to as many black people as possible. But at the same time, we stay in the global society. If my business reach in Japan and somebody want to contract us in Japan, then we're going to have to do business in Japan. If they contract us in the Caribbean, then we're going to go to the Caribbean. If there's Iowa in the middle of Iowa, for the business that I do, which is consulting, doing diversity workshops and doing business lead models and things of this nature. If they say we want Omar Montgomery and your company there, which I only do part-time, we're going to do business there.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Right. You're going to get that money.
I didn't open up the LLC just so it could sit there.
Right. and I'll speak to this point, right? Because you bring up a good point. It's like people will be like, "Oh, hey, you're just keeping to your own community or whatever." But I look at it like this. I'll give this analogy, right? My neighbor next door. I like my neighbor. He's cool. But if I'm spending all my time with my neighbor, I'm not spending enough time with my family. My family's getting neglected, right? That should be reversed. I should spend more of my time with my family, pouring into them. They're getting the best of me, right? And then when I'm hanging out with my neighbor, I'm hanging out with my neighbor, right? Yep. And so that's how I look at it. It's like, hey, we have our community. We are our family. let's support our family first and foremost.
Yes, sir.
Give the best to our family as much as we possibly can. And then, I don't dislike my neighbor because I'm hanging out with my family. I'm just trying to build my family, and I care for my family more than I care for my neighbor. But when I hang out with my neighbor, I'm hanging out with my neighbor.
And we love them. Love your neighbor.
I love them
as you love yourself.
Yeah,
I like that analogy.
I love it too. BJ, this has been an excellent hour. We like to close out with a dope black thought, and I just want to tee this up to you. Let you knock this out of the park. We got about 3 minutes left before we're going to wrap it up.
Okay.
Talk about how what it looks like to get a membership with Black Biz Colorado. What it looks like to about sponsorships or advertisement, and just give us that, and that'll be our dope black thought for the day.
Yeah. So everything on Black Biz Colorado, as far as like listing your business, is free, 100% free. Okay. So from nonprofits like NAACP Aurora, Omar, free to list. Yes, it takes like 3 minutes, literally. I mean, basically, this is how I boiled it down recently to somebody else. If you can create a Facebook business page, you can create a business profile on blackbizcolorado.com. And it's actually probably even easier than the Facebook business page. It's simple, it's easy. List your business, list your nonprofit, anything that's Black owned, Black run. We want to make sure that it's there so that it's aggregated and that we can find it. For instance, the NAACP and their efforts with businesses, they can literally use this as a list and be like, hey, let's reach out to all these businesses that are on here and get them plugged in, right? So that's one way that it can be used by the Black community, by all communities. The other thing is advertising. That's how we get paid. That's how we keep basically the lights on, right? This is more of a movement of a social. What do I want to say? A social benefit, social pride, social project, if you will. This is really for the Black community. So we're not in this to get rich. We're not in this to say, hey, look. Just dump a bunch of money into advertising. No, literally, we're just trying to spread this and build the Black community. So our advertising dollars go back into the business to support the website and all the functions and costs behind that, but as well as our marketing efforts so that we can push this out to more of Colorado, as well as any visitors who are coming to Colorado as well, so that they can know about Black Biz Colorado, tap into these businesses and buy more from them, so that we can get this money and put it into our community and then circulate it. So if you're interested in advertising, you can hit us up at contact@blackbizcolorado.com. That's contact@blackbizcolorado.com. List your interest, or you can go through the website and go through our contact button as well and just say, hey, I'm interested in advertising. Let's chat. It's not just for Black businesses to advertise, but anybody who's just trying to target the Black market, because we're getting eyes from Black folks, from white folks, from Latinos. Again, us being 4.6% of the market, actually the majority of people who are buying from these Black-owned businesses are white people. And we get that feedback all the time. So you got all kinds of eyes on our website, on our social media platforms. And really, it's how can we get grow our platform bigger with more businesses and get that out to the community more, so that we can put more money into the pockets of the Black community.
Okay.
Good.
And look, guys, this isn't a resource to you if you don't use it. So what that means is you have a Black business, you have a directory of Black businesses around you. We're talking about how we can keep the Black dollar in the Black community. You can utilize this resource. If you go about your business every day utilizing this resource, you are in fact helping build up the Black community. And this is my beautiful wife with this perfect link. Contact
there we go.
BizColorado.com. Thank you, Madam Ranier Cox.
Yeah.
So once again, sir, thank you for what you're doing for the community. Omar, I speak to you multiple times a week, but thank you for doing what you're doing, because
Yes.
I'm inspired daily. On your website on leadervate.com, I put that up there for a moment. On your website, it's got the picture of you with your arms together. It says "Changing Lives Daily," and I believe both of you are doing that. Hopefully we're doing that here at DBT. as well. So,
and Kevin, if I may, one final thing, because it goes back to our earlier conversation about communication. Black Biz Colorado is a communication resource, right? Because this is where you can find these Black businesses. But on top of that, we also have an events calendar. So if there's any events that are going on in the Black community, it's free. You don't even have to be a business to post it there. But if it's for Black people and or by Black people, that's an event. I don't care if it's a Bible study or a meeting for a professional organization. It literally put it out there, because we're putting it in our newsletter and we're putting it on our social media for free to post out to all of our following and everybody who's tuned into Black Biz Colorado. So that we're trying to aggregate that communication resource so that we can be out here and compete.
All right, let me ask you a question. Are you having any in-person events yourself? And if not, then maybe that's something Dope Black Thought and your organization could talk about, doing something in person to have all these small businesses come together and meet each other face to face.
Yep, haven't had any in-person events lately, but completely open to doing so.
Okay, maybe we'll talk about it offline.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Okay, that sounds perfect. There goes Jessica Campori, Sika Media, who's also working with us as well, doing great work. So I say once again, support Black media. That's also a Black business. That's also a woman-owned Black business. So we definitely want to uplift our Black women. And thank you for giving us tips on how to look at that. Juneteenth to be good. Thank you for giving us tips on how to build. Because that's what we want to do. We want to build. We don't want to tear down. We want to build. Thanks everybody. Look, after this, stay on BJ. We want to chat with you. We're going to wrap it up. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Omar. Thank you, BJ. And look, it's been a great episode.
It's been amazing. Thank you.
Out.
All right. Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Omar. What is love? It's the drug. Let it rotate, get back in it. Calling me an Uber just to get back to you. Hit the cash out like pay, I send it. Is it really worth the wait? I don't get it. If I didn't grab it.